Hello and welcome to Lost Love Mystery, where we explore the twists and turns of love, the pain of betrayal, and the mysteries that lie hidden in the heart. The moment Emma confronted me about our crumbling marriage, I felt my world tilt. "Is that what you really want?" she asked, her eyes flickering with a strange mixture of guilt and resolve. My stomach churned, and the air in the room felt heavier than ever. For months, I had sensed something amiss. Her late nights, the secrecy, the increasing distance between us. But hearing the confirmation from her own lips struck like a thunderbolt. She continued, her voice trembling. "I just can't stay here like this, Jason. It's too much." Anger and sadness swirled within me, a tumult of emotions I couldn't process all at once. "If you want to leave, then leave," I said, the firmness in my voice masking the pain I felt. "But you're not taking everything. This house, the car, our savings. We built this life together. You don't get to erase it because of your mistake." Her face hardened, and I could see a flicker of defiance. "We'll see about that," she replied before storming out of the room, leaving me alone with my thoughts. That night, I sat on the couch, staring at nothing in particular, as the enormity of what had just happened sank in. The person I had trusted above all else had not only betrayed me but now seemed determined to make me pay for it. The days that followed were an emotional blur. I felt trapped in the same house with a woman I could no longer recognize. The tension was unbearable. We moved around each other like strangers, barely speaking, each moment of silence louder than the one before. My friends and colleagues began noticing my distraction, though I was hesitant to share the full story. It was Dave, my best friend since high school, who finally broke through. "Man, what's going on with you? You're not yourself," he said during one of our weekly catch-ups. I hesitated before spilling everything. The affair, the threats, the bitterness. Dave listened, his expression shifting between shock and anger. "You don't deserve this, Jason, but you need to protect yourself. Don't let her take advantage of you just because you're hurt." He was right. As much as I hated the situation, I knew I had to act. My first step was contacting a lawyer to understand my rights and prepare for what was shaping up to be an ugly legal battle. Every morning, I woke up to the same suffocating reality. The person who had once been my greatest source of comfort now felt like a stranger, a shadow of the woman I had fallen in love with. I buried myself in work, hoping to distract myself from the chaos at home. But even there, the weight of my failing marriage followed me, clouding my thoughts and sapping my energy. Nights were the worst. Alone in bed, I replayed every moment leading up to Emma's betrayal. How had I missed the signs? The late-night phone calls, the mysterious text messages she brushed off as work-related. Every memory now felt like a clue I had foolishly ignored. One particularly restless night, I stumbled upon an old photo album. Page after page of smiling faces stared back at me. Our wedding day, vacations, birthdays, and quiet moments of joy. The life we had built together seemed so distant now, like a story that belonged to someone else. I closed the album, feeling the sting of tears in my eyes. Emma, for her part, seemed unbothered by my emotional turmoil. She moved through the house with an air of indifference, occasionally throwing in passive-aggressive remarks that only deepened the wound. One evening, she approached me, her tone unusually soft. "Jason, can we talk?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. "What is there to talk about, Emma?" I replied, the bitterness in my tone surprising even myself. "You cheated on me. You threatened to take everything we built. What else is there to say?" She looked down, her hands fidgeting. "I know I messed up. I don't know how to make it right, but I want to try. Can we at least talk about it?" I stared at her, the anger bubbling just beneath the surface. "I need time," I said finally, my voice cold. "And honestly, I don't know if there's anything left to save." She nodded, tears glistening in her eyes, and walked away. That moment, like so many others, left me feeling both angry and empty. Emma's betrayal had been devastating, but her determination to take a significant share of our assets was infuriating. My lawyer, Tom, became my guide through the labyrinth of divorce proceedings. From the outset, he emphasized the importance of preparation. "Gather every piece of evidence you have," he said. We need to make a strong case. The security footage from our home cameras became a pivotal piece of evidence. It was undeniable proof of Emma's affair, but her lawyer tried to dismiss it as an invasion of privacy. Tom countered with a compelling argument. The cameras had been installed for security, not surveillance. The judge seemed to agree, and the footage remained admissible. Court sessions were grueling. Emma's lawyer painted me as a paranoid husband, while I struggled to maintain my composure. Emma's icy glares from across the courtroom only added to the tension. But despite her team's efforts, the evidence spoke for itself. After weeks of back and forth, the judge finally delivered the verdict. Emma was awarded a modest settlement, far less than what she had demanded. The house and the majority of our savings remained with me. As the ruling was announced, I felt a wave of relief and sadness wash over me. It wasn't a victory, it was survival. Here is the continuation of the narrative, with the remaining sections developed to match the tone, intensity, and flow of the first two parts. Together, these sections form a seamless, cohesive, and emotionally gripping story. The courtroom became a battleground, each session stripping away layers of what we had once shared. Emma's lawyer was relentless, painting her as the victim of a cold and controlling husband. It was infuriating to hear her rewritten narrative, but I forced myself to stay composed. Tom was a beacon of support. Calm and methodical, he countered every argument with precision. "Stay focused, Jason," he'd remind me before each hearing. "This isn't about emotions. It's about facts." And the facts were on our side. The security footage didn't just confirm her affair. It also highlighted her lies. Emma had denied everything at first, claiming our problems were mutual, but the evidence dismantled her facade. Her lawyer's argument that the cameras were an invasion of privacy fell flat. The judge, weary of their attempts to deflect, ruled the footage admissible. Outside the courtroom, the tension at home became unbearable. Emma lashed out frequently, accusing me of turning everyone against her. Each argument felt like a dagger, but I documented every interaction as Tom had advised. The turning point came during the financial settlement phase. Emma demanded half of everything, including the house. "I deserve it," she said coldly during one of our rare conversations. "You think you're the only one who worked for this?" Her audacity stung, but I refused to back down. With Tom's guidance, we presented meticulous records of our finances, showing that my contributions far outweighed hers. The judge took everything into consideration: the infidelity, the threats, the imbalance of contributions. When the final ruling was delivered, it was clear justice had been served. Emma was awarded a fraction of what she had sought. The house, the majority of our savings, and the car remained with me. When the verdict was announced, Emma's face twisted in disbelief. She stormed out of the courtroom, leaving me with a mixture of relief and lingering sadness. With the legal battle behind me, I turned my focus to rebuilding. The house, once a battleground of tension and resentment, became a sanctuary. I started by repainting the walls, stripping them of the memories they carried. Each stroke of the brush felt like reclaiming a piece of myself. I rearranged the furniture, donated items that reminded me of Emma, and created a space that felt entirely mine. In the backyard, I planted a garden, a dream I had long postponed. Watching the seeds sprout and bloom became a metaphor for my own healing. Work, too, became a refuge. My colleagues, aware of what I had endured, offered support and space when needed. I threw myself into projects, finding solace in productivity. My boss even offered me a more flexible schedule, allowing me time to adjust to my new reality. Therapy was another lifeline. Talking to someone neutral helped me process the betrayal, the anger, and the grief. My therapist encouraged me to confront my feelings head-on, rather than bury them. It was painful but liberating. Gradually, I reconnected with myself. I dusted off my guitar, a hobby I had abandoned years ago. The music was therapeutic, filling the empty spaces in my home and heart. I also started jogging in the mornings, letting the rhythmic pounding of my feet on the pavement clear my mind. Dave remained a constant presence. "You've got this, man," he'd say during our regular hangouts. His unwavering support reminded me I wasn't alone. Months passed, and life began to feel lighter. The house no longer echoed with painful memories. It was a space filled with hope and possibility. One afternoon, while organizing old boxes, I stumbled upon my college journal. Flipping through the pages, I found entries from the early days of my relationship with Emma. The optimism of my younger self was palpable. I had loved her deeply, wholeheartedly. But as I read, I realized how much I had grown. The person I was now, stronger, wiser, and more self-assured, was a far cry from the man who had placed his happiness entirely in someone else's hands. Feeling the need for a fresh start, I planned a solo trip to a small coastal town. The ocean's rhythmic waves and the town's quiet charm offered a sense of peace I hadn't felt in years. On one of my hikes, I met Rachel. She was warm, witty, and easy to talk to. Rachel and I spent hours sharing stories. There was no rush, no pressure, just two people enjoying each other's company. For the first time in a long while, I felt the stirrings of genuine happiness. We kept in touch after the trip, and our connection deepened. Rachel's kindness and understanding reminded me that life, despite its challenges, could still offer beauty and joy. Reflecting on the past year, I saw how far I had come. The betrayal that once felt insurmountable had become a chapter in my story, a painful but transformative one. Today, I stand on the threshold of a new chapter, filled with hope and determination. The lessons I've learned about resilience, self-worth, and the power of starting over will stay with me forever. To anyone facing a similar journey, I offer this. Healing takes time, but you are stronger than you realize. Life goes on, and so will you. If you enjoyed this story of resilience and redemption, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Lost Love Mystery. Your support helps us bring you more heartfelt tales like this one. Have a story of your own? Feel free to share it with us. We'd love to hear from you. Stay tuned for more stories that touch the soul and remind us of the strength in every heart.